Cheryllyn, you get to answer the question now.
It's true, corruption is stealing our country's future, and the ACDP is committed to a leadership that is trustworthy and where integrity is the #1 priority. Crime, of course, when crime pays, it's a huge temptation for people to move in that direction. And in South Africa, crime has been proving to pay. Perpetrators do need to be apprehended swiftly. They do need to be tried, sentenced, and they do need to have sentences that actually are significant in terms of what the crime is. I see some lovely ANC adverts right now around the place that's talking about, 30,000. They're dealing with the overcrowding. To stop the cycle of crime, we're dealing with the overcrowding of prisons. And to do that, we've put 30,000 perpetrators back on the street. And if you look in PE, it is hell, all hell has let loose, because the gang leaders and all the criminals that were behind bars are back on the streets doing their business again. There's terrible violence taking place. So that is a bit of a questionable solution in that situation. The ACDP really believes that apparently that's saving us a couple of billion. So our understanding is if we want to save a couple of billion, we really do need those perpetrators to work for a living while they're behind bars, and they need to pay for their board and lodging, etc., and many other things along those lines, rather than putting them back out where they've actually been doing the business that pays for them, and that is crime. So we've got crime and corruption. We've definitely got a lot that's been put in place institutionally. We've also had a lot that's been taken out of place when it's seen to be problematic, like, for example, special investigative units, that kind of thing. The ACDP would like to see those units that have been successful in doing the job that they've done put back in place to continue doing the job that it has to do. We want to see that these institutions are supported and backed and taken seriously 100% of the time, and not only when it suits people. So crime and corruption is a serious priority for South Africa, and we want to see ourselves having a future where leaders, in fact, lead the way in terms of a standard. We see the DA obviously holding the ANC accountable in terms of a pretty high standard, but if you look in the Western Cape, you don't see themselves holding themselves accountable to that same high standard. And we've seen some pretty interesting stuff in terms of when you talk about transparency and accountability, and we work closely with them in the Western Cape, they're not quite as transparent, as open as they'd like the ANC to be. So yeah, the interesting thing, of course, is all parties have their strengths, they have their weaknesses.
Thanks, Cheryllyn. I have to stop you there. But the one key issue you didn't touch on, which I think may be interesting from your party, just very, very quickly, is capital punishment. Do you stand for that?
The ACDP has always been firm in the understanding that, again, if there is an incentive for crime, that crime pays, it is problematic. And we also have a biblical standard in terms of, you take a life, there must be the concept that you are prepared for what the consequences are. What we do know, though, is that we have a totally imperfect justice system, and the chances of actually implementing a death penalty in South Africa with the justice system as it is not reasonable, It's not feasible.